SciByte is produced by JupiterBroadcasting.com. Independent entertainment any way you want it. Check us out. Well, hi everyone, you're listening to SciByte, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly science podcast. We recorded this one live on January 10th for release on January 11th, 2012. My name is Chris, and joining me like every single week is Heather.
Hello there, Chris.
Hey there, Heather. Happy science to you.
Happy science.
Welcome to episode 28 of SciByte.
Yep.
So you probably guessed by the name in my intro there, but SciByte is Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly science podcast. We do 3 audio podcasts a month, and then we do a video audio companion on the last week of the month, so that way we can show off all the cool science goodies and visuals that we wanted to treat you guys to. Heather, you want to tell people what we're doing this week?
Sure. This week we're going to take a look at not only exoplanets, but exomoons, lunar minerals, dog socialization, neutrinos, hangovers, the Opportunity Rover, what Russia is saying about the Phobos-Grunt, and as always, take a peek back into history and up in the sky this week.
Always one of my favorite parts. Yeah, of course, everyone, you know that pretty much everything out there is distractions these days. So we figure here at SciByte that maybe we can give you a little entertainment and some information. You know, a little treasure trove of stuff that might make you good with the small talk at your next party or make you impress your friends or something with your science knowledge. It's at least something we can try to do. Now, we've got a lot of good stuff. Is there anything you want to get to before we go to our first story?
Not that I can think of.
All right, let's jump into our first story. You touched on it just a minute ago, but it's about exoplanets and exomoons, and there's just more news, yeah?
Yes, there is. Well, so far this year, there's already been 4 new planets discovered, not by the Kepler Space Telescope, by a ground-based telescope. There's a telescope network that works together to find these exoplanets. I mean, last year we had a total of 716 confirmed ones and over 2,000 candidates. Mm-hmm. But the ground-based telescope has already discovered like 29 last year. These are really the hot Jupiter type, so they're big and gaseous, really close to the sun. They orbit their star in 1 to 5.5 days. So Mercury takes like 88 days. So these are like cruising around this star really fast.
Oh, okay.
But what's interesting is that these big planets have the possibility of having, Earth-sized moons maybe. And we're down to about that size in exoplanets. So if the moons could be that big, we might actually be on the verge of being able to see moons.
Interesting. And of course, that would always have been in the past something outside of our technological purview, right?
Oh, yeah. Now, not only could we see them directly, but, we see a lot of these in transit. So we see the star dim. So we might be able to identify even a slight dim and brightening of the moon orbiting the planet. Or we might be able to kind of see the shadow of it kind of bump that way a little or bump that way a little, and that'd be like a little oblong, and that could be a moon orbiting the planet.
And does it mean like something a little more significant if a planet has a moon? Does it mean like there's a pretty good significant chance that maybe it has a tidal system or that it maybe has a more stable ecosystem for life? Is there any kind of indicators that they can glean just by knowing that a planet has a moon?
Yeah, a rocky planet that is able to have water is the little microbes and stuff are going to be much happier with a tidal system.
Yeah, all right.
So
for
something
the
that would
swaying
have
in and out and kind of exchanging of environment, right? Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of remember from my fish tank days, you kind of want to keep the water semi-fresh.
Yeah. Now, also, it's kind of interesting and funny and kind of interesting is SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, is actually starting to use the location of planets around stars to kind of point at specific systems that they know have planets.
Try to save themselves some time and just focus in on more likely areas.
Let's just focus on the star systems that have planets. So they're doing their thing. But I mean, so far, based on the Kepler data, the space-based telescope, the number of planets has risen to estimates to like 1 billion in our galaxy.
Wow. Not solar systems, not galaxies that found, but like just individual planets that we've identified. They think there could be as
But
many as
yeah,
1 billion for us to find.
yeah. Based what they do it is they see this is the amount of sky I mean, Kepler is not looking at all the sky. It's looking at like a chunk of the sky about the size of your fist, I believe. So it says if there's this many planets here, multiply it by all the sky, then you can kind of get a better idea for the numbers involved.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah.
really intense.
What you might like is the ground-based telescopes that are being used. This network,
Right?
they run Linux.
Oh, I do like that. You're right.
Yep.
Oh, I should totally make that my runs Linux for the week. Oh, I'll have to try to remember to do that. That's great.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Run
So
by,
this is the
one
one
Linux PC, and it's happy.
one Linux PC, and this is in Hungary. Is that where this is?
It's a Hungarian-made telescope network.
made. Okay.
Yeah, they made it, and it's in different places.
Oh yeah. All kinds of places, huh?
Yeah, there's one in the U.S. and Australia, all sorts of various places, all scattered around the Earth.
Yeah, Israel and
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is great. Runs one, and all it takes is $1. So any other interesting little bits about that?
Yeah, I mean, with these moons, you go back to the different theories on what makes the moons and all that kind of stuff. But with all those theories and looking at all the planets, it's estimated right now that 1 in 12 planets could be, the impact version of the theory, where something hits it and throws off enough that it could make a moon. But with the transitory stuff, not only could we see an additional brightening and dimming possibly from the moon, but the planet as it grows across the star, we might be able to see it kind of wobble. It wouldn't. There's possibility of seeing it wobble the star itself, but kind of wobbling the planet maybe.
Right. It seems like more likely that the planet you would see it in the planet because so I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it wouldn't be out of the ordinary that it would have some sort of gravitational effect on a sun, but it would just seem like the star of a solar system is going to be much harder to affect than the planet is or a moon.
With the caveat of one type of star, a pulsar, it flashes, and the first planet was actually discovered by a pulsar because it will affect the flashes involved. Like some of them beat thousands of times a minute, and so they're extremely sensitive to gravitational effects. And actually, it can go to much smaller than the size of the Earth that you can actually detect those kind of things. It can go down to 0.04% of the Earth, the mass of the Earth, to be able to see them around these pulsars.
That's pretty handy. But pulsars are pretty rare, right?
Yeah, they're not very often. They are fairly rare, and it's just in this specific case we can see really small, and we're kind of stretching the technology in other places to be able to see more and more each year.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Do you suppose that the things like this one, the Hungarian built one that runs on Linux, that can be on the surface, but the really seems like when you talk about the really big stuff, you talk about what Kepler finds and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's all stuff that's orbiting the planet, right? Is it really important to be outside of our planet in order to get the really far out pictures, the really deep stuff?
For specific wavelengths of light, not having to look through the atmosphere makes a huge difference. Now remember that the confirmation process to see the redshift, blue shift, the moving of the star based from the planet is actually done on the ground-based telescopes. But seeing the dimming and the brightening, not having to account for atmospheric disturbances makes a huge difference. I mean, often telescopes just in general they'll shine a laser up into the atmosphere, use that to kind of detect the disturbances at that moment, take the picture, and then sort of reverse engineer it to kind of take out what they think is the atmospheric disturbances.
But it's a little bit of a guesswork?
Yeah, it's a little bit of guesswork because from 1 minute to the next, the weather changes, if nobody's guessed.
Oh
So,
man,
even on a clear sky, the best sky viewing is cold, dry atmosphere because it's
it's
very
kind of like
still.
when you are in the car and you
Hmm.
drive up to something you want to take a picture of, and you take a picture of it from inside with the window closed versus rolling
Yep.
down the window and sticking the camera outside the car, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very much like that because there's something in between you and it. So there's an additional viewing kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Is there anything else you want to talk about on this one?
No, I think that just the planets and just being able to possibly look at moons, just that we've stretched the technology that far already, and just kind of what will the technology bring us in the next few years?
That is really exciting. And a story which we will continue to follow. Also, something else that's really
Oh yes.
exciting is our next story. And this one, I'll save my bit on it, but I'll set it up for you. Lunar minerals have been found, and there's some interesting details in this story. So why don't you take it away, Heather?
Yes. I remember in one of the past episodes, we were talking about the impact theory about how the moon was formed, that some planet, like a third of the size of the Earth, hit the Earth early in its formation, threw a bunch of stuff into the orbit, and it kind of clumped together to form the moon. And you're like, yeah, but hasn't there been stuff in all the moon rocks brought back that are not found on Earth?
Right, and that was a pretty interesting point, especially to all of the moon landing conspiracy people who said,
Yeah.
or the rebuttal was, look, we brought these rocks back, and there's stuff in these rocks that only comes from the moon.
Yeah. Now, there were really, when it came to it, out of the hundreds of pounds brought back, there were really only 3 minerals not found on Earth. And 2 of them were found in the 70s. And since then,
on Earth in the 70s?
yeah, they were identified and found on the Earth in various places, um, in various parts of the Earth, but not, let's see,
Yeah, it's hard to say, huh? Yeah, it's named after the landing spot where the Apollo lander would go, because it was like the Sea of Tranquility there.
Yes. And this mineral is, well, it would be difficult to find anyway. They're like tiny needles pounded flat, less than the diameter of a human hair.
Wow.
So a little bit hard to see. There's a very specific formation and molten rock and oxygen level that all needs to be around for the right conditions need to be combined for this mineral even to possibly be formed.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now I'll tell you though, this is one of these things that can be this kind of scientific data can be interpreted in 2 different ways. And one of them is, boy, doesn't this really make sense if you think about something smashed into the Earth and broke things up, and then the moon was formed. That doesn't that fit in great with this?
Yes.
The problem is it also fits in fantastically with the people who think that the moon landings were staged, and it takes away one of the really great anti-conspiracy factoids that was out there, is that, no, there's these things you can't find anywhere else. Well, it turns out you can find them on Earth. And so those moons, or those rocks, could be faked.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying they are, but I'm just saying that's going to feed into that.
Yeah. Well, the impact theory people would say, yeah, there's a possibility of some of the minerals not being found on the moon if this precursor planet had stuff that the Earth didn't have. But, this specific mineral had been found on asteroids that have fallen to the Earth. So it's these kind of things. There's only so much variation between all of the inner planets and the asteroids.
Right, the elements are the elements.
Yeah, and there was, similar type elements in our little cloud of gas when the planets formed.
So this is particularly interesting, though, just because I just have recently, this is particularly interesting for me, because I just have recently followed a lot of the moon stuff, and I didn't know this bit about that they had found these minerals here.
Yeah.
This is new.
And now this latest mineral was found in about 6 sites in Western Australia.
Oh, okay.
Now, because they are so tiny and they're a similar color as another mineral, it's kind of reasonable that we wouldn't have found it until now. Also, it kind of is unstable at the Earth's surface. You kind of have to find it buried.
Oh, So maybe like something that, I mean, couldn't it be possible that this came from an asteroid?
No, an asteroid impact would look different. There would
Oh,
be
okay. Like the
a
material.
crater.
Right, okay.
You'd be able to, from space, spot some sort of circular impact.
Well, but I mean, we've had plenty of impacts just over millions of years that have hit the planet, maybe some more dramatic than others. Doesn't that somehow some of the minerals get here is through that kind of arrival? No? I'd always had these great fantasies about all these various different components around the universe coming together on our planet through asteroid strikes. And it's like a poetic justice to the eventually figuring that we're going to be taken out by an asteroid one day. Makes it all okay, like the circle of asteroid life, Heather. Don't take that from me.
Circle of asteroid life. It's the circle of asteroids.
Yeah, it might destroy us all on December 21st, but it might leave behind an awesome mineral. That's kind of my justification. Now you've taken that from me. Anything else on this one?
Besides, strange asteroid minerals crashing into the Earth. No, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Okay. Well, that's good. Now, we probably wouldn't be. We would not be able to live with ourselves if we didn't just take just a brief moment here. And oh yeah, that jingle means we have a new Audible pick for you guys. Now we do this once or twice a month to give you guys a great Audible book to listen to, because if you guys don't know about Audible content, audible.com is the #1 place online to get audio books. And they have different kind of memberships you can get, or you can just buy books outright. And we're going to include a link in the show notes. You will have to use the link in the show notes for our book pick, or actually you can just get any book from there. But we get a little bit of the like a percentage of your purchase. And the cool thing about Audible is if you go with like one of their membership plans, you can cancel that S and you still get to keep the book, which is really nice. I really like it when they, sure, you want to try, you can try. There's no penalty. All right, but I have a book pick that helped me through some tough times, and I think for some of you out there, it could be a very timely book. At least when I found this book, it was very timely for me. I was struggling with trying to be present more and dealing with high stress situations, and I didn't want to turn to things like antidepressants and things like that. And plus, I also was just at a point in my life where I wanted to kind of think about things a little bit and think about how the mind works. And so I'm picking a book called Rebel Buddha, and I'll play a little bit for you because it's not really about Buddhism or anything like that, and the sample kind of explains it.
When you hear the word Buddha, what do you think of? A golden statue? A young prince seated under a spreading tree? Or maybe Keanu Reeves in the movie Little Buddha, robed monks, shaved heads? You may have many associations or none at all. Most of us are far removed from any realistic connection to the word. The word Buddha, however, simply means awake or awakened. It does not refer to a particular historical person or to a philosophy or religion. It refers to your own mind. You know you have a mind, but what's it like? It's awake. I don't just mean not asleep. I mean your mind is really awake, beyond your imagination. Your mind is brilliantly clear, open, spacious, and full of excellent qualities. Unconditional love, compassion, and wisdom that sees things as they truly are. In other words, your awakened mind is always a good mind.
I'll leave it at that. But what I found this book was really helpful was wrapping my mind around really big concepts and sort of slowing down and being present in situations, which has helped me in all kinds of different aspects, like, with doing shows or handling stressful situations, or just anything like that. Even family situations, it can be good to have that kind of stuff. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes, and you can listen to that. It's a shorter book. It's like only 7 hours. And really the first half of the book gives you the meat, and then the other half is useful, but I really enjoyed the first half the most. In fact, I enjoyed it so much I actually ended up playing it back a couple of times because there's some really great concepts that they talk about that help you understand the way your mind works and sometimes why things don't click for you. I'll give you an example. My wife and I have been working really hard to improve the way we eat, try to eat things that aren't as processed, cut out high fructose corn syrups and cut down on glutens and things like that. And, we've been educating ourselves on the different health benefits of food and things like that. And then, just out of nowhere, yesterday, we went and got fast food. And it's like, why did we go get fast food after we've been trying so hard to be good about the way we eat? And what it is like you can know a concept and know something's bad, but until you truly understand something, you won't make the changes you need, because you have to understand the complete end-to-end problem before you'll generally find the motivation to make the change. And this book helped me identify when I wasn't getting those full understandings and things like that. It's a great book. Again, it's called Rebel Buddha: On the Road to Freedom, and a link in the show notes for that if you guys would like to check that out. And I would highly recommend it. Or actually, we've also made some previous excellent Audible picks, and you can find those over at store.jupiterbroadcasting.com. All right. Now, should we move right along, Heather? What do you think?
I think so.
All right. Well, then that means it's time for the SciByte News Bite. What is up first in the News Bite today?
We have a new scientific study proving what all dog owners already know.
Okay.
It's the study that shows that dogs will follow the gaze of humans. But what's interesting is even when they're on the television, they can recognize when you look to one side or another, and on a television, that's not really even something primates can do.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's 22 different breeds of dogs, and a stranger on a TV would say, "Hi, dog," in a high-pitched tone, looking up, like, "Hi, dog," looking down. Oh. And when they were like talking, and then they'd turn and look at a container for like 5 seconds, like that would have a toy. And when the person was looking at them and talking in a high voice, 69% of the time, the dog would be like staring at the television. Like, oh, what?
I had a border collie who could read facial expressions.
Yes.
You ever experienced that? It is really an interesting connection to make with an animal like that. When you realize they're reading your face and they're reacting to your grumpiness or your happiness or whatever it is. And it's like, wow, it's just a form of communication that you usually only associate with humans, and so it doesn't surprise me that dogs do have this capability. It's, they're pack animals.
Yes. And the domestication process, getting them to be a part of human society had them really tuning into humans and paying attention.
Sure. That makes sense. You got to make sure you make the master happy. That way he breeds more of you or something like that. I mean, I can see that.
It's like my boss's dog. I'm like his strict auntie. He knows when I'm around and like stare at him and raise my eyebrows. He's supposed to, get off the couch or don't jump on the stranger and lay down and be quiet.
Are you the stranger or is somebody else the stranger?
No, we have a lot of delivery people and, vendors and stuff that come in, and he was definitely a jumper at first.
Yep.
And then his strict auntie came along.
Oh, look at you.
And taught him no jumping.
Wow, look at you. I'm always a sucker. Yeah. I'm always a sucker. When I would go into clients and they'd have dogs, I could never I could never help myself. I always had to help the dog break the rule. Yeah.
Well, a couple of our delivery people keep treats in their pocket.
That's pretty clever, probably.
Yeah. The dog is like our at the border. He's like our border agent.
The guard dog kind of thing?
Well, no, he's like just like the border agent. You come into our country and he requires a fee. He takes his fee and then he goes under the table and eats it.
Oh, I see. I gotcha. That's more mafia style protection, one of the two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So do you have a dog or anything like that? Have you had a dog?
I have had dogs. My parents actually were in dog shows and did all that kind of stuff. So when I was born, they had like 13 different dogs. So I've done a lot. I did a lot of training and stuff like that when I was young.
Did they say anything in this study about the type of dogs? Because I wonder if some breeds of dogs would respond differently.
Well, the study did 22 different breeds, just sort of in general. Further studies might take, this breed over that breed or specific ages of dogs.
Yeah, okay. Huh. Yeah.
Now, another interesting thing with this is that there was, in like the early 90s, there was an apprentice, like 19 years old, working at a chimpanzee center. And they were doing this study about, they'd have 2 containers with a treat or something, with a toy or a treat. I think a toy so they wouldn't smell it. And they would look at one container and then look up at the primate, look at the container like, go over there. And the primates weren't getting it. And he told the trainers, my dog can do that. They're like, yeah, right, prove it. So he did. He went to his garage and got a couple of different dogs and he did this experiment and the dogs would do it.
Huh.
You can either point, and I've seen even some studies that say, not moving only your eyes, the dog will get it. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, go over there.
Yeah, our border collie, first of all, the border collie would know everybody's name in the house. And so you could go say, go tell dad it's dinner time, and she would run upstairs and, go get him.
Yep.
And you could look where the ball was, and she'd look at your eyes and follow the ball. And then we also, although not actually intentionally, but border collies are just really high strung. Like she would assign different sounds we would make. Like like some people kind of like have a hissing sound when they laugh. And she thought that was the command to herd the cat. And so all these different little audio cues she'd also be able to follow. So she could follow like hand gestures or audio cues. And I mean, I swear to God, the dog felt as smart as a young child.
Yeah, some of these, the socializations is, some of the types of socializations are like a 6-month-old infant, or some studies have equated it to up to a 2-year-old without language.
Huh.
But yeah, my
Two
lab
seems a little. I mean, now that I've had a 2-year-old,
yeah,
that seems a little far-fetched.
Most of the
Not
studies
too far,
say,
though.
yeah, most of the studies say 6 to 9 months old because they can actually like follow your gaze and such.
Yeah.
But yeah, my lab in high school, you could like write a note. My mom found it hilarious. She'd like write a note and then like hand it to him and like, take it to Heather. And he'd run through the house and bring it to me. It'd be slightly wet and just a little bit chewed, but here it was. My mom a note saying, "Hey, come in here. This is fun, isn't it?"
The smart border collie though wasn't smart enough not to herd horses and kept getting kicked in the mouth when we were growing up. Yeah. That was the problem. That was the downside with the border collie. It did have its limits. It was a dog. It was toothless.
I thought it was much
after a
bigger
while.
than it was. It's like, hey, herd. Everything should be herded.
Yeah.
The horse didn't appreciate it.
No, they didn't. Well, that's interesting. Anything else with the dog story?
No.
No, the doggy news. All right, then do you want to talk about neutrinos striking again?
Yes, neutrinos are back again. They have traveled forward through history and come back again. Oh, well, the last time we talked about them, they jumped ahead.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
They jumped ahead and attacked us again.
Right. So what's going on? So are they faster than light? Is that what we're deciding now?
Well, there are some physicists at the Chinese Academy of Science, the high energy physics department, that say not only is it kind of breaking the no faster than light, they say that by conservation of energy, they just can't do it. The part that says the faster you go, the more weight you go. Now, neutrinos don't have a lot, but they have some weight. So it's sort of the Higgs boson, what they call the God particle that they're doing in CERN.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't react with matter. Neutrinos don't react too much, but they react to a little bit. And there's they claim that there is in the South Pole, there's a big detector to sort of measure neutrinos. And those energies, they claim, are 10,000 times the one that the neutrinos traveling in the faster than light, than their detector. But they're like not traveling from the faster light there.
What?
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum where they're trying to look at it a different way, saying it shouldn't have the energy to travel faster than the speed of light.
Is it because anything, even if it's a neutrino and it has almost no mass, but if it has just mass at all, it just shouldn't be able to get up to the speed of light?
Yeah. And that the mass to energy level just doesn't work out. Now, I hate to be judgy pants and skeptical pants.
Okay.
But with any of these studies, whether it's from CERN or these scientists, not only do you have to take into effect what they're saying, but who's saying it.
Oh, okay. All right. What do you mean?
I hate to be judgy pants, but
like an intern could be making this announcement? Is that what you're telling me?
No. Well, interns could make this announcement, but specific universities, how much do those credentials, are they the type of university that are just trying to disprove everyone? That's not them.
You think there could even be like a little grind to axe thing going here? Somebody is out to disprove? That's not necessarily a bad thing in the grand scheme of things, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
The grand scheme of things, you want a lot of people coming up and saying, what about this? What about that? And then the team who originally made the announcement can go through and say, find the answer to those kind of questions.
Right.
So is it that they can't answer the question? They don't have the answer yet? Is it a problem? It kind of goes into a couple of different bins.
And the other thing, too, is when you have two different sides here, you could have one side who's being super delicate, super careful about what they release to the public, making sure everything is double-checked. And then the other side might necessarily not be following those same protocols and rules.
Yeah, well, not only that, it's like we've talked about before. There is specific science journals. And if the right person grabs the right headline, then either one can just be picked up and it grows and it grows. And so, somebody writes, I wonder if the energies of this don't add up to that. We kind of question it. And then suddenly, boom, it's everyone in the world in 10 minutes.
So is it being considered that maybe our fundamental assumptions about some of this stuff are just wrong? Is that on the table?
Well, that's kind of the idea. It's all of these assumptions about the universe. I mean, so far, everything's pretty much followed the rules. But I mean, the rules for the universe don't apply to the rules for atoms and subatomic molecules. So there are sort of different rules for the micro scale.
That's not
the
fair.
Really tiny stuff
that
and
doesn't
the big
seem
stuff.
like that doesn't seem fair to me. It doesn't seem like you can have two sets of rules like that.
Well, we don't quite understand it either. It's just that these rules work here, those rules work there.
And when you say rules, I mean this is based on repeated tests and then results that verify tests that say, okay, when we do X, we know we can get Y. When we do this, we get that every time. And then they build out a set of rules around that, right?
Yeah. It's, there's in galaxies or planets, you can calculate the gravity and this body will orbit it and shift it this way and that way by specific rules of how these interactions and these gravitational energies interact with each other. But on the atomic and subatomic scale, if you use the same rules, electrons aren't really happy. They kind of crash into atoms, which they don't do.
I do not know what to do with that other than just ponder on that for a bit. I'm going to have to get my Rebel Buddha book out and then decide how to ponder on this properly.
Well, don't feel bad. Lots of physicists, and all those people in these kind of fields ponder it a lot.
Yeah. I hope so.
There's a lot of these theories that sort of many of them have worked for a long time. There's like these specific rules, and they've really worked for a long time.
Yeah. In the show notes, you have a quote here from a Nobel Prize-winning theoretical physicist, and he says that if the results that we're seeing, they're not impossible, but if they turn out to be accurate, I would say to nature, you win, I give up, and I retire.
Yep.
I mean, so this getting pretty heated out there because people are not pleased. You got some links to further notes about this and all that kind of stuff in the show notes. So people have asked me before, like, what are the show notes? I don't know how to make it easier. So what we do is I thought about maybe making a big wiki sometime. But right now, if you just go over to Jupiter Broadcasting, you find the episode number, you click on it, and then where the video is displayed, if you scroll down, the show notes are there. And Heather's got links to all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, all the articles I get this information from, every little bit of information, if I get it from an article, it goes in there. So you can go read the whole article, make your own decisions if you want to. Kind of see where everything comes from.
I have a feeling that maybe we should move on to the alcoholic rats. Is that what's this about? Something about an anti-alcohol drug that will lessen hangovers, but they had to get some rats drunk in order to do it. Is that true?
Yes. Well, the alcoholic effects on rats are very similar to those on humans. So that's why they test them there.
Sure. So the rats got to party for free. I understand.
Yeah. So scientists have been studying, all these ancient, hangover remedies and alcoholic things. And they've been testing a whole bunch of these random compounds that, this works. Oh, that works. And one of them was from the seeds of an Asian tree, Hovinia dulcis, I think.
Wow. So some Asian ancient remedy to prevent you from getting a hangover.
Yep. And it's called, oh my goodness, the name is so long. I'll try this. Dihydromyricketine. We'll call it DMH.
Good job. Yeah, that's got to be
DHM.
Yeah, wow. That's way better than I would have been able to do.
DHM.
Okay.
And, rats respond similarly. So the rats were given the equivalent of 15 to 20 beers in under 2 hours.
Whoa, that's a lot of beer for a rat.
Yeah, well, it's the equivalent. So, size down to rat scale.
But still, that's a
They'd
lot of beer.
They'd be swimming in a pool of beer.
I mean, so that's like equivalent of a human drinking that many beers for them.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And, they'd fall into a little stupor within an hour. And, they'd lay them on their little backs and they couldn't flip over. They're just like, oh, wake me in a day.
Oh, so is this something that's going to be out in the market? I mean, this sounds like something I think that at least in college towns would sell like crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, from rats to humans is a pretty big step. But I mean, they last an hour, the, not being able to roll over. But with the drug, it only lasted 15 minutes.
Oh, so then they get the effects of the hangover after the drug wears off?
Well, the passed out stupor lasts quite a bit shorter. The hangover symptoms are also eased, not totally brought away, but it eases anxiety, prone to seizures. So, I mean, the results are promising. It's not making you invincible to alcohol. It's lessening the effects. You can't drink it like you're breathing, but it might be able to curb some of these effects in someone maybe who's having these issues or is going into, well, not only could you use it just sort of as a precursor, but if you're alcohol poisoning, is this something else that could be injected into the person to help bring it down?
Right, you bring somebody into the ER or something like that, right?
Yeah. Not only all those things, but the rats were given open access to all the beer they could drink. Now, half of them were just, left alone to party all night and party all day.
Why don't they just call me? They don't have to test it on rats. I will do this for free. As long as I can bring a camera and release it on the internet, I'm down.
Beer's Tasty is back, but only if science provides the beer.
Yeah, that's right. For free, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other half of the rats were given this drug in their alcohol. Now, the not drug rats just, kept drinking more and more every day, thinking everything was completely awesome. Now, the ones who had the drug in it pretty much stayed at the same level. So it's thought that maybe this could be something to use against alcohol addiction even.
Well, that's interesting.
Could you help curb the need for more and more alcohol?
Maybe whatever sort of physical withdrawals that you go through, this helps sort of get rid of, kind of a thing? Like it's helping with whatever is making it so that way you're not feeling the physical effects of a hangover is also helping with the physical withdrawals of alcohol, maybe. Is that kind of what they're thinking?
Yeah, that's what they're trying to track down. Is it interfering with some signal in your brain? Now, it's not taking away the brain-killing cell action that beer might do.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
But it may be interfering with some sort of chemical signals such that
I prefer
it
to think
reduces the effects.
It's brain enhancing.
Brain enhancing.
Yeah.
Brain enhancing beer. Beer enhancing brain.
Otherwise,
drugs,
all these shows, just about every show, I'm killing my brain cells while I do it.
Yeah. That's what the science hits so hard.
That's true. Okay, well, any other thoughts on this rat party?
Coming soon to college campuses near you.
I hope so.
Where all the frat boys will party like it's 1999.
I hope I can Amazon affiliate that bad boy one of these days. We'll make a ton of money off that.
Amazon affiliate this anti-alcohol pill. It's magical.
Yeah, I think that would sell from every show. I don't think there's a show that wouldn't have appeal to.
1,000 sales from every show.
God, that'd be great. That'd be the new Jupiter Broadcasting model. We just live off people drinking.
Yep.
What do you say we do some spacecraft update?
Yes, the Opportunity Rover. And we mentioned one of these last shows that the Spirit Rover kind of, it found its sleepy place and it's not calling back home anymore.
Yeah.
But the Opportunity Rover, that was the second rover to land, this little guy has just had nothing but luck. He landed inside a crater, hole in one, saw a whole bunch of great, science right there. But in the winter times, the sun gets kind of low on Mars, so you kind of have to have a little hibernation place where you go. You're not real. They don't really want to waste energy on rolling around. They want to have it on a hill, facing north so that it kind of gets all the sun it can get.
Oh, sure.
Now, because the solar panels are fairly covered in dust now, they kind of want another dust devil to come along and wipe it clean for them.
That'd be nice. That'd be ideal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, like send out a signal, be like, "Hey guys, over here."
Gosh, what they need to do is just send another robot out there and have it include like one of those little
Brushes.
Yeah, or a little vacuum, just a little vacuum, like a Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. Send her out there.
That's what we need on the next rover. It's just like a little, either like to suck it up or like blow, just like, pull in the atmosphere and then just like blow it off.
I'm not implying it should be its primary function, but if you're gonna send another rover out there, you might as well give it a vacuum. So I have a picture here from the show notes of Mars. Is this current? Is this from its recent hideout spot, or what is this?
Yeah, it's from late December, but in the corner you can see how dusty the solar panels are.
Oh, they're just orange. They're just awful.
Yeah, just full of dust. Now they can still get around. I mean, they're still producing about 287 watt hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but they're kind of in the spot that it's going to chill out for the winter. They can still do some science. I mean, they'll get to a point where if it gets to a certain wattage level, they'll shut down and they'll just, keep things warm, and that's all they'll want to do. But from where they are, sort of the hibernation place, they can still reach out and look at things and kind of hang out and do science sort of stationary. Not roll around because that's, wasting a lot of energy, but
stationary science. Well, hey, any science on Mars is good science.
It's energy conservation on Mars.
And really, I mean, how long has this thing been in operation, did you say?
Oh, my goodness.
Remember the day count? It's something like really ridiculous at this point, right?
Yeah, 2,824 days, like 2,700 past its little warranty. They're like, we're going to get 3 months out of these.
So, I mean...
And like 5 years later, they're still going.
So, I guess, even if you're restricted to stationary science for a little while, that's a pretty good deal even at that.
Oh, yeah. And come summer when the sun's a little bit higher, then they might be able to roll around a little bit more. This is one of those things where you kind of use, there's Mars orbiters. So the orbiter can kind of take a picture of where they are and the area around them. And then they can use that to scout out and say, hey, there's a hill right there. That looks like it's going to be a great place to go for. Let's head over there. So, you start off well before the winter and kind of drive in that general direction. Then when you get there, you sort of analyze where you are, be like, let's go up that little part of the hill right there. That has everything we need. You roll up there, park, and chill out there. You set up your little tent.
You kind of make it sound like they're...
camp out.
Yeah, like they're making a camp.
Yeah, they're just camping out for the winter.
You want to talk about this next story? It is a mind bender, but I don't want to jump ahead until you're ready.
No, I think we can jump ahead.
So people probably remember the Phobos-Grunt that we've talked about. That was the Russian project that was launched. Everything was good. It was on its way to Mars. It was going to be historic, and then
it was in low Earth orbit, and then it was in low Earth orbit, and then it was low Earth orbit, and it kept going there.
And it never took off.
No, it never left Earth.
But there's been an interesting development that you told me before the show started, and I said, "Don't tell me anything. I want you to tell me in the show. I got to hear it in the show." So okay. This is a
the last minute edition. I only added it just like 2 hours ago.
Because you knew I would love the story.
Well, I saw it and I was like, I got to talk about this.
Yeah.
Actually, my husband pointed it out to me. He's like, oh my gosh, look. And I was like, yep, diving into that story.
So the Russians are claiming foul play could be involved with the failure of Phobos. Is that true?
Yes. Yes, they are. They're like, they didn't, the agency, the Science Space Agency didn't particularly point fingers. They're just like, we think someone is to blame for our failures.
So,
now, poor Russia has had 19 attempts over the last 50 years to get to Mars. Not one has gotten there.
Oh, man.
They had 5 huge, particularly high-profile failures just last year.
Oh, they're blaming HARP. Awesome. I love it. Everything is blamed on HARP. I love it.
Yes. So HARP is the Alaskan radar.
Now, that there is some honest, like, people, the government at times has been dodgy about, like, what they claim HARP is responsible for. So people have claimed that HARP is responsible for warming areas of the atmosphere. People have claimed that HARP is a earthquake machine. So now are some people from Russia claiming that HARP is like a probe destroyer?
Sort of. There's the space agency itself is not claiming anything. There is a retired general. Well, actually, he's been pointing fingers since November. It's just he's pointing fingers again.
Right. Yeah. He said
That area is sort of in Russia's blind spot. They can't specifically talk to their probes over this area of the Earth. So, they have extra incentive to point fingers at the U.S. and specifically Alaska's radar station.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of claiming that maybe the radar would have monkeyed with the systems on the probe or something like that.
Yeah, that it would have been able to shoot a pulse at it and make all its system go wonky, and then it's stuck in low Earth orbit. Now, he does kind of mention that the mission was kind of risky, underfunded, and designed during Soviet Union days.
Oh, it was.
And also that its original designs, and it sort of had a limited launch window. If they didn't launch, before a certain date, then it wouldn't have gotten to Mars, and it kind of would have been $160 million or 525 million euros, just thrown away.
Well, and let's be honest, and I I have seen some crazy things. You never truly know, but from a PR handling standpoint,
yeah,
a disgruntled, discouraged public is probably going to respond a lot better to the Yanks did it. Give us another shot. Then, well, we messed up.
Yeah, well, I mean, after like 2 big satellite failures last year, the head of the agency got kicked to the curb, and a new person came along. I'm sure the new person is not, worried about his job or anything.
Well, and whenever you have a big head change in the middle of a big project, that's never a good thing either.
Yeah. They just no luck last year.
Poor guys. Well,
yep. Now the HARP people claim
they actually responded to this?
Yeah, they did. They said even a full blast of what they could do would have hit Phobos-Grunt with about the equivalent of a 60-watt light bulb from 69 feet away.
That doesn't even... No way. That's like... how could they... That couldn't do anything.
Yeah, well, that's what the HARP people say.
There's no way that could have interfered with that thing's system.
Yeah, so if you take that at its face value, then there's no chance at all that it would have really hit all that much.
Unless it was just because they were too busy causing earthquakes.
They couldn't break their time for crashing Russian satellites.
Right. They couldn't. They didn't. Yeah, they were busy.
Like, we can pencil that into our schedule.
You think it's time to move on to the science calendar?
One more thing that was kind of funny for me is one of the communication satellites that failed last year, broke into fragments, fell. 20-inch fragment actually survived, crashed into a house in Siberia, and the house was on Cosmonaut Street.
Oh, gosh. That is irony. I mean, out of all the places.
It hit on Cosmonaut Street.
Well, it kind of had it coming. All right, well, what do you say we jump into the SciByte time machine? All right, every week about this time, we like to look back and see what was going on in science this very week. And our first one takes us 89 years ago to the 1920s, 1922, January 11th. What happened?
Diabetics start living.
Oh, wow.
Before this date, there was no insulin. And so a diagnosis would pretty much mean death within days, weeks, or months.
Oh, boy.
Now, on January 11th, 1922, a 14-year-old who was about to fall into a coma received an injection of insulin. Now, the first dose he had some impurities and he had an allergic reaction, but they purified it and they started giving him insulin. And after he had that, he took it regularly. His blood sugar levels returned to normal, and he continued to live very happily.
Yay. Well,
So they found something that would actually work, and diabetics started living.
oh boy, and I think everybody knows somebody that has diabetes. So that's
Yes.
just amazing to think that we wouldn't have been able to have those people around until 89 years ago.
Yes.
Depending on their, how bad their situation is. Well, what do you say we go to just 27 years ago, January 12th, 1984, restoring the pyramids?
Yes. In the early 1980s, we started seeing some major decay in the pyramids and the Sphinx. So they said, oh, we got to make some restoration, make sure that it's going to be okay. Now, they used some modern cement. They restored the Sphinx, and it was happy. But when they started using on the pyramids, they noticed the water and the mortar was actually making the limestone in the pyramids, next to the fixes, starting to split. It was actually making things worse.
Mm-hmm.
So the international panel convened. They got together, all the scientists, and there was all these restoration efforts, and nothing would work. And they claimed, all right, they finally decided on this day that, all right, switch to the ancient ways of the pyramids. Just do what they did. And they did, and they finished the restoration the same way the Egyptians used to create the pyramids in the first place. And from there on out, everything went smooth.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's go just 6 years ago, January 14th, 2005. Welcome to Titan.
Yes, the Huygens spacecraft. There was the Cassini, it flew all the way to Saturn. And then it released the little Huygens spacecraft, which actually landed on January 14th. And the pictures were, as it came down through the atmosphere, it was taking aerial shots.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see in those pictures, you could kind of see things that look like drainage channels, shorelines, flooded areas, like things that suspiciously looked very much like
water.
Places that water were on Earth.
I remember that very clearly, how much it looked like water. I was freaking out.
Yeah. In fact, they made the lander. They took into effect that what if they landed in sort of methane ocean or icy bit. So they actually made it so that it would survive for a little while if it landed in some sort of liquid.
I just found an awesome concept picture of what they thought it might have looked like, and
yes,
it is really cool. The concept of it is sort of like this rocky, crazy winterland with like these pools of water all over the place.
Yeah, it's fairly close to that. It does have a weather cycle. Like the rains on Earth, it evaporates, everything goes in a cycle. Now it's not water, but it's methane. So there's some sort of methane rain. It hangs around on the surface and evaporates, goes back into the atmosphere. So they're starting to track weather patterns on Titan.
Wow. I don't know what impact that has on my day-to-day life, but it gives me peace to know that there's weather reports coming from outside of our own planet.
Yeah. There is one little video out there that I remember seeing, and it's, showing the pictures of, you can kind of watch the pictures of how it went down. And there's all these different tones going on, like little bell and a little tone and a little tick. And all these different tones mean I've made one rotation, I've taken a picture, I've done this, I've hit winds of this nature. And it's just all these different sounds that have essentially equates to all sorts of data.
That's really interesting. And because it's sort of, especially when they probably designed it, kind of simplistic as to what it can communicate, but they found a way, even with simplistic communication, to convey a ton of information.
Yeah.
That's always so cool. I always love that kind of stuff. That's all I love. Yeah. I love when creativity and ingenuity can thrive due to restrictions and not be, not smothered or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Should we move on? Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. Well, then let me get the SciByte telescope ready because it's time to look up into the sky.
Yes. So this last week, we saw coronal mass ejection. That comes, and those can hit and make aurora and disrupt, the satellites and such. Now, at first, we kind of thought it was going to hit the Earth. Then we kind of decided it was just kind of make a glancing blow. And there were really no auroras. There were some people in northern Norway who actually saw some electrical disturbances. They kind of saw something in the planet that says had a jump in the electrical fields in the power grid. So we kind of saw something that indicated it was definitely there. It kind of brushed by us. It didn't really cause any aurora, but we could definitely feel it kind of walk by.
I don't remember what day it was. I want to say Saturday or Sunday. You could probably tell me maybe. The moon was a full moon, and it was so bright that it looked like we had lights on in our backyard. I mean, It was just one of those where it lit up the whole sky. I mean, it was gorgeous. And then then later that day, I went onto Reddit, and there's a space section on Reddit, and people from all over Seattle area had posted pictures of the moon, and it was so awesome.
Yeah. Sometimes that's just the right atmosphere and being a full moon. All those kind of things come together in the right circumstances. If the moon is really bright and you have ice crystals in the upper atmosphere, you can actually see a little moonbow, which is like a tiny little bit of a rainbow circling the moon.
Oh, that's cool. From ice crystals? That is so cool.
Yeah. I actually saw a light one in college where you could kind of see a little bit of a bow around the moon.
I've definitely seen like I remember on cold nights, like the moon almost has like an aurora around it, like a glow effect around it. And
it'll have a glow effect.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there's a glow effect, and then there's a circle that kind of sort of really doesn't have some sort of color, and then it's darker between the moon and it.
That's pretty cool. What else are we keeping an eye out for this week?
So for the Northern Hemisphere, Friday and a little bit after, January 12th to the 14th, Mars will be near the main waning moon. Ooh. So it'll be near the moon, just before and during the dawn hours. Okay. The 16th is the last quarter moon. Our friends on the other side of the equator can check out Mars just to the right of the moon. They have the last quarter moon, and Saturn they'll be able to see just to the left of the moon. Now there's going to be a bright star in there too, but the star is Spica, and it will flash many different colors. So that's a star, but the other bright object is the sun. I mean, Saturn.
Yeah, well, the other bright object is also the sun, but that's in the daytime.
Yeah, that's the daytime. I don't suggest looking at that.
No.
Not if you like looking at other things.
No matter how tempting it might be, don't look at the sun. That should be like every week on SciByte, we should have like a great science tip that's like totally approachable, and that could be this week's. Don't look at the sun.
Don't look at the sun. I'm sure you enjoy your eyes.
Now, you've got links to other things people can find out what's going on up in the sky. Also, some places where there's something in their specific area they can kind of find out what's going on. Is there anything else you want to cover in this episode?
I think that wraps up the science.
Well, there you go.
For this week.
There you go, everyone. There's another SciByte episode 28. It's all done. Heather, great show. Thanks again for another great SciByte.
Show, Chris.
Okay, everyone. Well, SciByte is live on Tuesdays over at jblive.tv, and we do that at 7:30 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to join us, you can do that, or it just gets posted super early Wednesday mornings over at jupiterbroadcasting.com, and you can grab an RSS feed to get the show weekly, and I always encourage you to do that. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of SciByte, and we'll see you right back here next week.